There are very serious risks associated with oil and gas development and the science to prove it. Ohio has not yet commissioned a scientific study on fracking. Ohio's regulations of the oil and gas industry are among the weakest in the country, and some critical regulations have never been written. Here is a glimpse of the devastating effects of fracking in southeastern Ohio.
Hi, I'm Dennis Kucinich. I'm running for governor of Ohio, and I'm here on a fracking tour of southeastern Ohio. This is a gas pipeline, and it runs all the way underground here, and along top of it is a water line. And fracking uses enormous amounts of water. Each fracking well will use about 11 million gallons of water on average. Now, when you consider that in some of these counties, they're talking about thousands of wells, you're looking at not just millions, but billions of gallons of water at a time when water resources are increasingly scarce globally. It's time for us to start asking the question, what do we want, water or oil? What do we want, water or gas? Why are we being put in a situation in our energy policies where we're told that we have to sacrifice water? Because what they're doing is they're siphoning water out of reservoirs, out of rivers, out of streams, and often they're paying a minimum, if anything at all. These companies are paying next to nothing for the water, and this water is the basis of life, but our lives are being put at risk for oil and gas here in southeastern Ohio.
This is the Exxon-owned XTO Schnag fracking well that exploded February 15, 2018, and remained uncapped and leaking for 20 days. In order to cap the well, a massive flaring occurred that could be seen for many miles. Residents living near this site were visited by Congressman Kucinich, and they expressed their concern regarding the potentially negative impacts from the lengthy exposure of toxins from the leaking well.
Belmont County, and below me is the Cats Run Creek, and on the other side is the Schnag well pad, where on February 15th they had an explosion that lit the sky up a bright orange and sent clouds of toxic chemicals up into the air, over into the community, and covering people's homes, their cars, their land. People were tracking it into their homes as they walked outside and into their homes. So you live 15 miles away.
By road, and that's roundabout. So it's
okay, and you saw the sky light up when
my neighbors did, yeah.
When they had the explosion.
Yeah, right.
The neighbors saw it. So tell me about your concern about this.
Well, I'm concerned about the whole thing, a lot of aspects of it, and in the long run, my biggest concern is water. You know, it's a long-term risk. What the risk of the water, and it really depends on knowing what the risks are, and the problem that the wells tend to fail more over time. The cement seals, and so there's the air pollution and the traffic and the accidents. That's obvious to anybody. That happens immediately.
Here is an aerial view of pipeline construction along with a fracking well site in Monroe County.
And I'm here with Greg, who knows a little bit about this facility is where they pump chemicals deep into the earth that were used for fracking.
Right. It's a lot of water that's polluted with chemicals, and it comes up with the radioactive heavy metals as well. So it's quite radioactive. especially when it comes to the unconventional wells. This right here is about a medium-sized injection well. There's 240 permitted injection wells in Ohio. This isn't one of the big ones, but it's still a good-sized injection well. And they say it's the safest way to dispose of this brine that they call it. It's about 10 times saltier than seawater, but it's got a lot of chemicals and radioactive materials in it. They also spray it on roads in some counties in Ohio. Ohio takes it from West Virginia and from Pennsylvania. We take the Marcellus brine, which is the most radioactive brines in the whole country, probably in the world. And we take it in Ohio. We take it all.
This isn't exactly a rural area here.
No, you can see we've got Taco Bell right there. You've got Kmart right there. It's been here for at least 3 years, sitting behind these commercial facilities. Everybody drives by it and ignores it. Nobody really pays much attention to it because they don't really understand what they're doing here.
Here is a fracking well construction site near parcels of the Wayne National Forest that have been leased for fracking. This is the village of Belmont, Ohio, a community that is surrounded by frac pads and pipelines. Listen now to Randy, a longtime resident of Belmont, who is now dealing with the negative effects of fracking.
The health aspect is...
Well, tell me about that. I mean, what have you experienced or your neighbors?
Well, since they started, I've never had ear infections in my life, ever. Not as a kid, never had anything wrong with my ears. Constant. Every 2-3 months I go get antibiotics for ear infection. Sinus infection is almost continuous. I have headaches that are just... Is it caused by the fracking? I don't know, but, would they tell us if it was? No. And depending on the weather, like this one up here, which is the one you've got the picture of, if it's damp out, where stuff stays down, you go out there at night and you can see the cloud over that pad. And it's just, it covers the whole entire thing, and it just glows at night because of the lights they got on. What is it? There's something there. And like I say, we live here because this was a nice, quiet little town. You had 10 cars a day go through that intersection, and now it's... And then the other part that really makes me wonder is why they only do it at night. They don't frack in the daytime. You don't hear these wells till the sun goes down, and then they start. And you get up in the morning and walk outside, and the smell is just, it's like, what the hell is that smell? And then it'll dissipate because they're not doing it during the day. So why only at night? And when they were really going at it, they wouldn't do it until after midnight. So 2 o'clock in the morning, you got both of these things going full blast. You step outside and you can't hear the crickets, you can't hear the birds, all you hear is that. And when they first started, it was, the only way I could compare it would be if you were at the airport and jets were taking off. I mean, it's not loud like that now, but, and the Powhatan thing the other night when they were burning that off, you could see it from here. I look outside and I'm thinking, well, something's blown up somewhere.
How far away do you think that is?
It's
The Powhatan.
25 miles easy. And when you leave, if you drive down, you can see there's a well there, there's a well over there, and there's 4 pipelines that come together in that field right up there. And that's when the pipelines explode, that's when it obliterates. If you look at the line that exploded in West Virginia, here they evacuated within a mile, there it destroyed everything within a mile. So if those pipelines ever explode, this town will be gone. Because that they can't, they can't stop it. And they're right over there. I don't feel comfortable with them, that close to the house, but what are you going to do? I'm not going to move.
So how much development is in the area? How many frac pads and how close to your home?
I'm not sure. I know there's, well, like this one over here is capped now, so, that's one. There's one over there, there's one right there, there's one right there, there's one in Bethesda. There's another one back there over the hill that's already been capped. So, at least 5 within a mile of town. And like I say, the traffic is not, life-threatening, but it disrupts your life.
How many trucks come by here a day now?
A day, right now, I would say between 50 and 75. At the peak, 200 to 300 every day, without fail. I mean, they would come 16 at a time, one right after the other. And then, they go this way, and then naturally they have to come back. But right now, I'd say between 50 and 75 every day. And that's a quarter of what it used to be. Because a lot of them are, they're capped off. And like I say, a lot of people think I'm just bitching and moaning, but, when they start dying and they don't know why, old people like us, maybe this won't affect the young people now. But, maybe 15 years from now, half the people that grew up in Belmont will have cancer. How do we know? There's something coming out of there because you can see it. Like I say, when it's damp like this at night and they turn all them lights on, it's just like a mushroom over top of that well. And you can smell it. Like I say, Belmont is an amazing place to live. It's like Mayberry, to be honest with you. Everybody knows everybody, everybody gets along, neighbors take care of each other, and they've made it miserable to live here now.
This has been a small glimpse into the hazards of fracking. Thank you for taking the time to learn more about the irresponsible oil and gas development occurring in Ohio. Please take a stand against this devastating industry. Aho.